Well, every Thursday morning, the Speaker of the House has a news conference in Washington. This one drew a little more attention than normal. That's why you heard Speaker Paul Ryan start out with efforts the House is making to try to pass opioid addiction and treatment bills, that kind of thing. He wanted to emphasize the work that the House has been doing before addressing the elephant in the room, which was his meeting this morning with presumptive GOP nominee Donald Trump. The two have not really met before, and they have expressed their differences of opinion. You heard Paul Ryan there saying that it was a good meeting. Things seemed to go pretty well. Let's talk about it with our political panel. Julian Epstein, former chief counsel for Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee. Brad Blakeman, former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. In speaking about Donald Trump's run to the apparent nomination, Brad, he used words like a remarkable achievement. He said he's very encouraged that this was a very positive step forward. Now, as the Republican on this panel, what do you think about what the Speaker had to say?
Well, his words were carefully chosen. And I think the meeting should have went more than 45 minutes. I would have hoped they would have spent a few hours together because it's that important. I also would have liked to have seen both of them come out together after their meeting and not make separate statements, because our party has to be unified in order to win. Donald Trump is certainly the presumptive nominee. There's no way anybody else is going to step into his shoes. So I would have liked to have seen more of a kumbaya moment. I missed that did not happen. And I'm hoping that will happen sooner rather than later. And
Julian, I'm sure as a Democrat, you'd like to see the same thing.
Well, I think I agree with Brad. I think the fact that they did not do a joint appearance is very telling. I think the fact that Paul Ryan did not say that he endorses Donald Trump is important. It's similar to the fact that you've got Republican elected officials, members of Congress, who are saying they won't vote for Donald Trump, that they think it'll hurt the downstream tickets. That you've got 40 to 50%, according to some polls, of Republican women that say they find Donald Trump offensive, that his negatives is in the 70% range, his overall disapproval rate or his overall unfavorables. So I think Paul Ryan put a very, very good face on this, as he does. He's a brilliant public speaker and a brilliant leader. But I think you can't get away from the fact that the Republican Party is fundamentally a house divided. Compared to the Democratic Party, which is fundamentally unified, Hillary Clinton has her problems, lots of them. But party division isn't really one of her major problems right now, as it is on the Republican side.
Let's talk about that, because, you know, Bernie Sanders says he's going to stay in this race despite the fact that he doesn't have any real path to the Democratic nomination. Right. He's replacing his campaign manager in California less than a month before the primary that offers more delegates than any other. It's sort of been his promised land out there. But he says he will remain focused on the issues as he continues to criticize Hillary Clinton. Listen.
As you well know, there are many areas that I could have attacked Hillary Clinton on that I have chosen not to attack her on. What I have done is run an issue-oriented campaign. That is what the American people want.
That was Bernie Sanders talking with MSNBC's Andrea Mitchell. So, first of all, Julian, to you first. I mean, you say the Democrats are united, but you've got two candidates. I mean, he's won 19 states, seems to be on something of a roll. And just as there are some Republicans who say they could never vote for Donald Trump, there are some Democrats who say they could never vote for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that, again, that the Clinton camp doesn't have problems. I think my point is, if you look at the Bernie Sanders supporters, and even those that say they wouldn't vote for Hillary, and you look down into the numbers, that opposition is very soft. I think the likelihood that the Democratic Party becomes very united at the convention is extremely high, not so much on the Republican side. But the problem with Bernie staying in the race, and this is just me speaking, not the campaign speaking, not the Hillary Clinton campaign speaking, is that by staying in the race, he's bleeding resources that Democrats could be using for the general election, and he's criticizing her a fair amount. Hillary Clinton's negatives are probably in the 50s. Donald Trump's, of course, in the 70s. But this is problematic for Hillary the longer he stays in. That said, the Clinton camp doesn't want to offend Bernie supporters by asking him to get out. I still think it's a problem the longer he stays in, and there's no path for him to get the nomination. This is just for him about moving the party to the political left right now. It's a longer-term strategy beyond this election for him.
Well, and Brad, when he says there are lots of other things that I could have criticized Hillary Clinton for that I didn't use, I mean, that doesn't exactly sound like he's, gearing up to unite the party.
No, it does not. And look, to Bernie, nice guys finish last, Bernie. If you don't use all the ammo and you have bullets left over after the campaign, you lose. You should use all the ammunition you have against Hillary Clinton. That's the object of winning. And by the way, Bernie was never going to win. The superdelegates were the hedge against the rank and file. They weren't elected to anything, the superdelegates, and that was Hillary's ace in the hole. And Bernie knows that, but Bernie has a following that Hillary never thought would be possible. They never thought Bernie would be more than token opposition. So Bernie has every right to go to the convention. And I would suspect, Julian, that you're going to have an awful time once those superdelegates come over to Hillary, taking it away from Bernie, because if you didn't have them, maybe you guys would have had the contested convention. And by the way, the most important caucus has yet to be had, and that's the FBI caucus. And if she wins that, she's gone.
Well, she will win on pledged delegates. She's way ahead on the actual vote. She's had over more than 2.5 million more votes than Bernie Sanders. I don't think there's any question that she would be the presumptive nominee without the superdelegates. No chance anybody on the inside, and President Bush's former attorney general said the legal case on Hillary Clinton on the emails is extremely weak. I don't think there's any chance that there will be any legal action against her. That's not to say the Republicans won't use it politically. They will. And I also agree with Brad's point that, Bernie Sanders could have gone negative a lot earlier and a lot more strongly and could have been much more effective if he wanted to, but it really wouldn't have been the authentic Bernie if he had taken on that kind of campaign.
Computer is about to cut us off. Got to say goodbye. Julian Epstein, Brad Blakeman. Thank you both.
John, thanks so much.